Hello, everybody. My name's Tony, and I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank God for first letting me be in this chair today because the way I went into my alcoholism, I should be dead. I am from Owensboro, Kentucky. That's a little town on the Ohio River in Kentucky, where we got some couple of famous people from. Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip, and a guy named Jeremy Mayfield. We is a town of a whole bunch of churches, And my life as a child, we did go to church a little bit. So I grew up with two young parents, with my mom and dad. Mom grew up in a household full of 7 kids and pretty poor. And Dad grew up in a house of where there was no love shown. It was sort of abusive. So, my parents did the best they could, but my dad didn't know how to show me any love. So growing up, I don't know when I become an alcoholic. I can't say if I was born with it or not, but I could go back and see him in through my time, all the isms that was there. So going through school, being poor, it was kind of hard. Kids are brutal, so I got bullied a lot. And all I wanted when I was a kid was just to fit in. That's it. Just to fit in, to have some friends, and it was hard for me to make friends. So roughly around about the age of, I'd say about 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, my birthday's on June the 13th of 78, and the one man that I did have in my life at that time that I loved the most and died the day before my birthday. So there was a moment in time right there when I said, God, why do this to me? So going through that, having that ordeal, and then going through school being bullied, it was hard to make friends. I was pretty much an outsider. We moved a lot too. We moved from Owensboro to Paducah, Kentucky, to Louisville, Kentucky, back to Owensboro. We made a trip to South Carolina. So my first taste of, I guess, of drug addiction or alcoholism was in Louisville, Kentucky, when we were there. It was moving around so much, even for me, being that I'm not that socially great with people. I was awkward. It was hard to make friends. And some guys come and say, hey, you want to skip school? We're going to go smoke some pot. And they say, you ever smoked pot before? I said, yeah, I sure have. I had never smoked pot in a day in my life before then. And what should have been an embarrassing moment was something that felt like success. I could, once it did, I was a totally different person. I was at ease with myself. I was a happy person right then. And then the embarrassing moment, there was a girl right there, and I puked on the girl. It's first time I ever did that. So it should have been embarrassing enough not to want to do it again, but, so I got into a little trouble in Kentucky, in Owensboro, at about 16, 17 years old, with another girl. And my mom and dad said their dad's job was moving him to South Carolina, so we went ahead, and I said, well, this place isn't doing me no good, so I'll just go down there with them. And so we did. I did. I moved down there with them, thinking that some kind of geographical change is going to change the way I felt, and it sure didn't. But I did get into some things, that I did enjoy. I started working at like Waffle House, and in Columbia, South Carolina, and if you know what happens at Waffle House on third shift, it's you can just about do anything you want to do and get away with it. So it was just a progression of things that was happening. Exactly about the same situation the first time I drank. I was trying to play like I'm somebody, and that I could drink like all those other guys, and so it got presented to me to have some drinks, and I said, sure, I've done this. I've been drunk many a times when I had never done it before. So my first taste of alcohol was Everclear. I mean, I can remember that day clearly. So the bathroom wasn't downstairs. This guy had a two-story apartment. The bathroom's upstairs. So I go up through there. I drank like 4 or 5 of these drinks, and they were telling me then, "Hey, slow down. You're drinking too fast." I was like, "Oh man, I can handle this. This ain't no problem." Well, you had to go to the bathroom, so get up to the top of the stairs, and use the bathroom. I was okay, and then get back to the top of the stairs, and I just tumbled down every stair. So that should have been enough of an embarrassing moment right there too to change my mind about drinking or doing any kind of drugs, and it did not. Ended up pissing on myself that night, so it was really embarrassing. But it's time went on, and I finally got with this one girl. You know, I was only smoking pot at the time. I wasn't really what you could say an alcoholic or a drug addict at that point. I didn't think, but got with this girl, and thought she was the love of my life. And we got married, awfully young. Also, she got pregnant, and I didn't know how to love people at that time. I couldn't love myself. I dang sure I don't think I could love her. She miscarried this child, and I didn't show any kind of love to her or remorse or give her any support. So our battles started happening. There was a guy lived down from us from our trailer court that me and her lived in, and he was the dope guy, and she got introduced to him, and through that, it didn't take her very long. She was not wanting to be with me anymore. So the love of my life has rejected me now, and those feelings that I had, like with my father when he couldn't show me love, was happening all over again. And so I just was lost, man. And right after that divorce, I met another woman who had 2 kids. I mean, it was real great, you know, because this is something I prayed for especially after she miscarried, was to God, can you provide me a family? I know I can be happy if you just provide me a family. Well, he did. He did provide that. Was that happiness? No, it sure wasn't. Now, I'm going to say now, my kids, those kids, I loved them to death. I love those kids with all my heart. But again, I didn't know how to be a dad. I didn't know how to love them the correct way, and partying become a normal for me. It's I don't know when, like it was somewhere along in those lines. We were in Columbia, South Carolina, and we did a lot of the football games there. We would go to a lot of college football games, and college football games, there's a lot of tailgating, and I think that's maybe where my alcoholism started taking off. He started around with beer and stuff, and then he just wasn't doing it. I didn't really like the taste of beer, so I started drinking the alcohol. Drinking a lot of alcohol. And then it was coming down to a point where I was starting to get the bartenders at the bars and stuff. They knew who I was, but they would start taking my alcohol from me because I changed into a totally different person there. Like I said, every time I would, I'd start out happy, but by the end of the night, I was pretty foul. So it came to me. I got to take Adderalls for the first time, and what Adderalls could do for me was I could finally drink now to what I wanted to drink, and nobody was going to take my stuff away from me. So there it is, a successful moment in my life with drinking. But it was just a tornado or a disaster waiting to happen, because with everything that was going on, around my home, I wasn't paying any bills at this time, because if anything got in my way of my drinking, I wasn't going to do it. So my mother-in-law was having to pay all the bills, and my children were suffering because I can say this today, my kids. I even, as myself, didn't like myself enough that I thought I had to be the fun parent. So I let my kids do drugs around me. I even did drugs with my kids so that in order for them to like me. Now, those are some heavy moments in your life, man. When you start slowing down a little bit, and you start thinking a little bit, and thinking about what happened, and it was it always brings a whole lot of guilt, even to this day. Some of my two boys, they're not alcoholics or addicts, but they do still use, and I was the one who showed them how to do that. It's pretty guilty. It all comes down to a crash one night. I had just left the bar from actually gotten methamphetamines by this time. So I was pretty drunk before I did the methamphetamines, and then I went home and started having an argument, me and the wife, and I said, "What do you want from me?" And she said, "I don't want nothing from you." And boom, rejection again. Rejection always seemed like it was my downfall. So I felt rejected. I said, "Well, okay, then I'm going to just go ahead and go commit suicide." So I knew of a bridge where I could go do this at, and man, my kids had to see me walking to this bridge and crying behind them, saying, "Dad, don't do it. Dad, don't do it." And it didn't deter me. I got away from them. So I guess the thought in their mind would be that Dad's finally did it, and it's bad for those kids. But my ex, she knew exactly who to call and to get me to stop what I was doing. It was my mom. My mom. I'm a big mama's boy. I love my mom. So she was able to talk me out of it, and we went to they took me to the hospital, one of the first hospital stays, and it's where I first got introduced to some sobriety. I thought I was going into this hospital for suicide, and they told me, "No, you're going in here for alcoholism. You're an alcoholic." I said, "What?" I said, "No way." I said, "That's not me." See, my perception of what an alcoholic was then is was somebody that was dirty, who was homeless, who didn't have a job, who always was begging at a street corner, and I was none of those. I wasn't none of that yet. So I did what I thought was best in my mind. Thinking geographical change is going to change things again. So I left South Carolina and moved back to Owensboro. And I did okay for a little bit of time. I've had some periods of sobriety, and where it makes me think, where I could think in my head that I could do this on my own. My kids, again, when I say this, my daughter, she was an angel. She was beautiful. From the time that I met her, this kid would want me to sleep in her crib with her and put a death grip on my arm. So anytime that she started feeling bad, or because she had problems with depression and she had problems with drugs also, she would call Dad, and Dad could talk her out of doing things. And we had got into an argument over a girl that she didn't think I should have been with. And my pride, I called her some really bad names, and the conversation wasn't good. It wasn't loving at all. And after that conversation, 2 weeks later, she committed suicide. So I felt really, really guilty then. And bottom was starting to come around. It's a lonely, lonely place to be at a bottom. Because at this time now, I had that weight on me that, God, why are you punishing me? That's why did you have to take this beautiful girl when she got all this life ahead of her? Why didn't you take me? And I did not like God at that time. What ended up, we were living in a camper, and it's a camper, I usually kept it pretty nice and everything, but from that point on, I didn't care about anything. I didn't care if anybody knew what I was doing. I didn't care if any of the bills was getting paid. I didn't care if my kid ate any food. All I wanted to do was be in this little bitty bathroom and be a prisoner in my own home. And that went on for almost a year and a half. That bathroom was my prison. I didn't want to leave that bathroom. I would curse at people if they wanted to use the bathroom. I'd tell them, go use the bathroom outside. Because that was my spot. I let my whole life, my whole world become like a animalistic. It was horrible. By doing all that, by not paying the bills, what happens is you get your lights cut off. You get evicted, and so right before that happened, I moved it back in with my mom and dad because I wanted to get away from them, and so they got evicted, and my ex and my youngest child, they were homeless for over 2 years. So I started fighting this thing, and it come down, and I was just so lonely. I mean, I was so depressed, so lonely. Didn't want to be me anymore. The things I said that wasn't going to happen, like not taking a bath. That was a normal. Not showering, not eating, not sleeping. Hardly could go to work. It was horrible. Horrible way to live. And come down to it, I finally messaged some people on Facebook, or put out something on Facebook that said, I need some help, but I don't have insurance. Where do you think I could go? So a friend of mine suggested that I go to a place in Louisville. It's a pretty good place, pretty good treatment facility. But I didn't want to be, at that time, I knew I had a problem, but I didn't want you to tell me how to fix it. So in my mind, I just needed to go somewhere. I really didn't want to quit at this time. It's just I wanted to feel better. And I didn't know what to do. So I told them, I don't want to go to a 12-step program. They said, oh, no, this ain't a 12-step program. So I went there, and come to find out it was a 12-step program. I'm so hard-headed sometimes, in life. It took me a while. That process started over 4 years ago. I would go to the treatment facility, stay for a couple months, and I would leave because I think I'm healed. And I've done that on numerous occasions. I went one of the last times in treatment up in Louisville. They have a detox unit there that would take anybody. And my dad was having to pack me across the street because I was in such bad shape, and they wouldn't let me in. They said, look, he's dying. He needs to go to the hospital. So I was around about 107, 108 pounds at this time. My dad, I know they were scared to death because, my dad grew up in an alcoholic home too, so he's having to see his son go through the same things that his father put him through. So my dad, didn't show me love as a child, but at this time, man, this man was trying to do everything he could to save his son. So come to find out, when I get to the hospital, I remember getting to the hospital. By the time I got to the hospital, I had all my clothes off. It was I don't know what I was doing. I was way out of my mind. And come to find out, I was going into a fentanyl overdose, and I didn't even know I took fentanyl. They would think at that time so that you would change something, right? I wasn't done manipulating yet. So I got in there into the treatment facility again, and that's about the time COVID happened. I come up with every excuse in the book because by this time my dad and a really good friend of mine, Casey, lawed me into that treatment facility. So I was able to manipulate them and tell them that these people weren't taking care of us, and they didn't have our health as a priority. So my dad come got me one more time. It would seem like always that Dad would always come and be ready to rescue me. So you would think, like I said, that would be enough, but it wasn't. A couple weeks later, I was back doing the same thing again, and at that point in time, my dad had to show some tough love. He said, "Get out of the house, son." He said, "You're not going to do this anymore here. I'm not watching you die." So, okay. So I had to go live with my sister. Wasn't the greatest experience. I was going through, her husband was an alcoholic, man, and I would be drinking in front of him. And so I got into my boss let me move into a trailer. It was around July the 4th of 2020. I was in a bad state of mind, and they were shooting off fireworks behind this trailer, and I thought somebody was shooting at me. That's what kind of state of mind I was in. I was in that crazy delusional state at that time. My son was there, and he had always become mad every time that he would see me high on the methamphetamines, and he looked at me and said, "Dad, I know what to do for you." I said, "What, son?" He said, "You need to sleep and you need to get something to eat." Or something that almost triggered me instantly. It's like, oh my God, my son is normal to this. I can't let this happen. What am I supposed to do? So I did. I went back to another treatment facility. It was in Campbellsville, Kentucky. God's got his hand on that place. Beside of a poop plant. It's pretty crazy. Got this big old sign on the door that said hope. And man, I hope I can get some of this. This was the 5th time I've been to a treatment facility. And these treatment facilities, they were all good. They all can help. It was just I was the one getting myself in my own way. I couldn't put my pride down long enough for actually another man to help me. So I 12-stepped that program, went back home, did all right, I'd say probably for good. I was around 10 months sober, and I relapsed. I sure did. Even after finishing that 12-step program, it just wasn't finished yet. But I knew in the back of my mind right then and there, though, that those treatment facilities were working. I seen it work for other people. Why couldn't it work for me? But why couldn't it work for me? Because I wasn't allowing it to work for me. I called a girl, good sponsor of mine that I had, and we started to actually do some work. And it wasn't at a treatment facility. I was having to do this on my own finally. Didn't have dad to help me. Didn't have mom to help me. I was wanting something different. I did not want to live my life like that anymore. And one of the things that did change, I started believing that this stuff could work. I was believing that a God of my understanding could work. Somewhere along the way, God intervened, and he took the desire away from me to drink and do drugs. It's a beautiful place now. Man, I am just so thrilled. My sobriety date is 4/20 of 22. And a lot of people had told me before when I tell them my sobriety, they said, "Ooh, that's dangerous." I said, "No, that's not dangerous. It's only dangerous if you make it." I said, that's what my God can do for me. So today, I'm employable. My boss loves me to death. I've got the greatest boss in the world. I'm a very good, strong church member. I sponsor guys today. Back when I first started this, I didn't think at all that none of this would ever happen. Even sitting in front of this camera today, this would be something 4 years ago that I would not be able to do because of feelings of oh, they're going to judge me or they're not going to like me or what am I doing? Am I going to say something wrong or any of that? But today I know that I do have a message. God has turned my mess into a message, and hopefully you got something out of that. And that's about all I got. Thank you.